Well, we might be into a new year, but it is not a new series. We go racing once again in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series, and the competition is hotting up as we have just 4 rounds left of the regular season before we get ourselves towards the playoffs. And the countdown to the championship has been a very interesting season so far. Since moving over to the Xfinity car, it's been all change in terms of the way we go racing, but some familiar names up towards the front. And of course, in the most recent couple of rounds, we have Alcantech back in the picture, and it was Eric Blixt who won last time out 4 weeks ago before our Christmas break, and he is certainly coming along with all of his teammates coming for potentially some places in the playoffs. It's myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me in the commentary box, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we bring you through the MABI Hyrbilar 300 round 11 of the season. But it's certainly been a long one so far. We started all the way back in August at Auto Club before working our way through some various different types of circuits. We've been to short tracks, we've been to the super speedways, we've even been to the road course as well at Indianapolis round 6, but we are there in the third row now, Nashville round 11, before we get to New Hampshire, Darlington, and of course Daytona to round out the regular season. We will then get 15 drivers to go to the playoffs. We start in Las Vegas and we end with a champion at the end of the race in Phoenix, but that is still in May, some 5 months away, so still plenty of action. Here's where we sit at the in the standings. Ericsson has really sort of taken over the lead in the last couple of rounds. Broström has struggled just a little bit. Ericsson is coming strong after probably a difficult first 4 rounds of the season, but he's really coming back strong. And look at the gaps in behind. Alfredsson starting to fall away a bit, so really a 2-horse race up towards the front. Bohlin and Hagman, they are very close there for the top 5, and a little bit further down with the likes of Forsund jumping up at the previous race 3 spots to get himself inside the top 10. But of course, who's not being shown there is the rest of the top 15, who we are looking out for the playoffs. And remember, if you win a race, you get yourselves locked in, but you must be in the top 30 in the standings. And with Eric Blixt winning that race last time out, there's the potential he might be able to get himself up there inside the top 30. But yeah, let's see what we're going to have here for today. It's Nashville, Ewan. It's certainly going to be an interesting start to 2025 as the drivers need to, after this bit of a break, they need to lock in and then get going again for the new year.
Yeah, they do. And for some of those drivers, it is different objectives, really. Some of them are already in the playoffs and they know that they will be, given the example of Jesper Eriksson, who's at the top of the standings at the moment. He's so far in front of 30th place, he's probably mathematically in already, even though we've only just got past the Christmas break. So plenty of stories like that to tell for sure. The 2 I'm interested in are Eric Blixt and Dominik Sawicki, the only drivers who have won races who are not in the top 10 in the standings, who you just saw there. They'll be ones to watch this season as they try and make their way into that all-important top 30, and indeed the rest of them trying to get themselves in the top 15 in points.
Qualifying has been finished, and here's how we stand. It is an all Sim Race Freedom front row. Holm has taken pole position, his teammate Fredriksson alongside him. Dylan Platt, who is continuing his strong entry into this championship halfway through, aka Hero, putting them on the second row with Dan Solo alongside them in the 13. Alfredsson is there in 5th place, and your championship leader Jesper Eriksson is 6th to round out the front 3 rows of the field. Marcus Hagman is there in P12. Eric Blixt, your previous race winner, in 8th place. Holmbom, Leppit rounding out your top 10. Uvnen and Linus Broström inside your top 12, but as expected, such close lap times between all of these drivers. Bright Esports are there in the 101 machine of Håkan Schott in 13th place. Oliver Wallin is in 14th. Lundberg and Hafliderson are inside your top 16. Helmbro and Gunnarsson round out a very strong top 18 here for today. Ericsson, Salander, Tier, Auto, Skoglund and Wildeberg are inside your top 24. Before we get to Forsund, of course, your IndyCar Series champion crowned just before Christmas. Tademo, Eck, Bratberg, Pfeffer, Nordgren inside your top 30. So Fredrik Eck making his debut this season. Cannell is in P31 with Wallen, Broström Kjellberg, ex-teammate there. Then we got Dalstrand and Marcus Stiller, who loves to start from the back and do a bit of a last to first challenge to start this 2025 year of action for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. Here is the stats for today's race. You're in 140 laps, stage on lap 60, and we are sort of saying that fuel can go a little bit longer than that, so we are expecting the drivers potentially to go straight to the stage without pitting.
Yeah, and it's quite rare that we get that and that we get the possibility as well of a one-stop race in the entire day. That's extremely rare as well. But you've got to remember this circuit's a pretty fast one, so we're going to get through a lot of laps here, even though it may not take that much time. We'll see on that front, but yeah, it looks like fuel consumption is pretty good. 123 degrees Fahrenheit on the circuit. That's pretty warm. Celsius land, that's about 50s, is it? Maybe a little bit less than that, 40s probably. But yeah, pretty hot because we are running this race in June, which we're obviously not in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. 140 laps of action. We're saying the fuel can go about 65 odd laps, so just a bit longer than stage. And as you say, maybe a one-stop race. And of course, we have only 4 sets of tyres. But if we're talking like that, there's going to have to be a few cautions coming out at the correct time for things like that to happen. It's certainly a very fast way to start this final closing stages of the regular season. But we come out of the final corner, we get the long run up towards the restart zone, and the MABI Hyrbilar 300 will start racing here in 2025 as the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series gets underway to conclude this regular season, these final 4 rounds. Let's see who can make it towards the playoffs. It's a good start already from Holmer and his teammate Fredriksson on that front row. They lock themselves through as they come through the exit of turn number 2, and we're double filing behind.
Yeah, Solo getting into a good position there in 3rd place, just ahead of Jesper Eriksson, who's made up a couple of places. You can see him in the 37 there, the black, yellow and blue out of turn 4 and into decent place. Side by side, and a graze on the wall in the background. Platt and Blicht are the ones side by side. Solo looking on the outside of one as well, but he's blinking at the moment. That won't be helping as Jesper Eriksson looks to take advantage. Solo and Fredriksson side by side for second.
Yeah, I think it was Platt who was up into the wall on the exit of 4. Got to be careful with that one. We are side by side as we're seeing Solo now getting up into that 2nd position. He's able to get past Fredriksson and complete that move. Now it's going to be Eriksson in behind trying to get past his teammate and not lose too much time. But Platt's actually looking up his inside as well. On the exit of 4, once again, more cars in the background. Maybe from Marcus Hogman in the Cyan number 12 machine. He is trying to get up some places, continuing his strong run in the opening stages of these races. It looks like Platt's still going side by side, though. Might just be able to squeeze it up with the momentum down the back straight.
Yeah, it's a very clumped field at the moment. Look at this. Solo looking at the inside of turn 3, maybe. He's on the low line. Homer initially got off to a good start and raced away with the lead, but he's been pegged back very quickly. And look at this. Daniel Solo has got to the front, got to the inside, and he's got into the lead. Dylan Platt tries to follow him.
And Simray Sweden not having a great start to this race. The 3 of them on that high line, all losing places. The low line there is looking good. Platt goes up into 2nd place. Blixt is going to jump up into 3rd as he goes past all of them. And also in behind, there's Aracingligan coming through for the MABI Bright Esports entry. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All those drivers, not Simray Sweden. We're also getting a couple of teammates battling. There's Eriksson dives down the inside of his teammates. So it's actually Holman now that's dropping back. So not the best start, but are they trying to just maybe be in a slight bit of conservation mode in these opening laps?
Yeah, we've been told that the tyres do go away very quickly in this circuit. It's pretty easy to lose a 2.5 seconds or so a lap after even as early as 20 laps into this race. So we could be seeing the early signs of some tyre saving going on here, because the way these drivers have switched positions early on is abnormal, to put it mildly. Daniel Solo leading the race now from Platt and then Blicht, and this is the most stable we've seen the top 3 since lap 1, really. Aracingligan behind them, then Eriksson, who I think is doing as little as he can, but he does want to stay with the leaders, so he's trying to save tyres and stay with the leaders, which might not be possible, but he is still hanging back in 5th, for the moment.
And the tyres have been such a talking point this season since moving to six Xfinity car from the next gen we had in the 2023 season. But these things just change around very, very quickly indeed. Dylan Platt, though, is going to go to the lead. He dives up the inside. The 95 of Blixt, the previous race win, is going to get up the inside of his teammate as well. It really seems that low line is very, very nice. It's hard to defend around the outside here. And Platt for AK Hero is going to be taking the lead with 3 wide in the background. Ericsson tries to come up the inside of Aaron also trying to make his way through, so Solo loses another couple of places there. Once looking for the lead, now down into 5th place.
Yeah, nearly on Blick there as well, by the way, as he was trying to get down the inside of turn 1. Ericsson not hanging back clearly for very long. I thought he was going to take a slower, more steady start to this race, but clearly that's not the thinking going on. Solo raced to the lead. Now he's all the way back to 5th himself now as well, so can't really explain why the lead is changing so much, and we're having this sort of washing machine effect at the moment with the lead changing all the time. Ericsson again on the defensive there through into turn 1 for his 3rd place. Alexander Aronson looking for his a way through here, and it looks like he may well have got alongside on the back straight.
Yeah, this is some wonderful racing to open up this MABI 300, and it's certainly working good for some of the MABI drivers. Another one of those is the 24 of Aronson, but it's actually now Ericsson. He's found some speed in that car. His teammates are dropping way further back. Holmer is now down into 8th position. Fredriksson in 9th, but he has the speed for the Simrace Sweden entry as we work our way through turns 1 and 2. The 13's also dropping back. Seems like some drivers, I really think this isn't just the speed in the car. This is the speed that they're choosing to go to save a little bit in those tyres, and that really could be the biggest talking point of this race, especially if they want to continue it being a one-stop race. We stay under green flag conditions as well. Normally we get an early caution so far this season, but it's looking good so far.
Yeah, we are looking good so far. We don't want to jinx it or anything, but this is on the long side as far as opening runs go. We nearly would have been in trouble there. Dan Holmer just smacked the wall on the way towards turn 1. I think it was just a misjudgment, really. Rather than he was trying to push the limits on the entry there of turn 1, he just seemed to drive into the outside wall, so that's a bit weird. Squeezing there, Michael Philipson there is being squeezed right up against the wall in the number 1, and he gets away with it, but he's still stuck up high there in this battle, just inside the top 10. This all connected with the battle for the lead of this race, which is still ongoing, sort of, for the road.
Side by side across the line, this is Fredriksson trying to keep himself inside the top 10. But there's Hafliderson, your reigning champion, of course. He had a very strong result last time out, up inside the top 4, but now he is trying to get himself a bit further up inside the top 10. Rubbing doors as we come in towards turn 3. Really no margin for error being left at all. Almost 3 wide as Holmer's not going too fast. That's going to hold up Hafliderson just a little bit as we come across the line for another lap of RACing. They remain side by side, and this is lovely to see that we can have some great racing around this venue.
Yes, it's an odd circuit, isn't it, really? They call it a super speedway, Nashville Super Speedway. It is absolutely not a super speedway. Only 14 degrees of banking, concrete surface. It's a bit odd, really. There's not really many circuits quite like it, but at the moment it is producing good racing. I think part of that is down to the Xfinity car, which has been delivering for us so far this season. Certainly, this now being round 11 of our 2024-25 season. Out of turn 4, they come again. A person again looking on the very outside, can't quite do it. And there's a change for 2nd place further up the road as well between Aronson and Eric Blix, who's just going to go backwards by the looks of things.
3 wide we go. Hafliderson in the middle, but for now we'll see as Aronson is trying to go for the race lead, but Blix is coming back at him as well. Oh, contact is made. Platt goes to the inside. He picks it up. Is he going to go up into the fence? Yes, he is. He saved that very nicely, though. The race continues on. We're still under green flag racing, but there's definitely some contact there. I think that was Blix making contact with the 23, who's now dropped down into 6th place.
And Solo just smacked the wall as well out of turn 4. He's losing places to Oscar Fredriksson and Jonas Gunnarsson as well. He just seemed to misjudge that. He wasn't pushing particularly hard. He just smacked the wall off of turn 4, but that was a weird moment. It looked like nothing was really happening to the race leader Dylan Platt there, and all of a sudden everything was happening to him. As he went in towards turn 3, he seemed to be hitting the rear, although couldn't really see from that angle, and he just gathered it up in time. Here's another look closer in. I reckon he was hit here, but let's see. It's Blix who's right behind him. There you go. Bang, straight in the rear, and it's a good save actually from Platt in the end. He chases it up the hill, smacks the wall again on the outside. He might have a bit of damage, to be honest, but at least he's still pointing the right way.
And what a start to their run in this championship is it for AK Hero. They got Lepit up there in 4th place in the number 50 machine. They got the 23 of Platt as well. Platt's already been up there fighting for podiums so far this season. What an entry and what an addition midway through the season for them. It's going to be a tough ask to get inside the playoffs. They are going to need a victory. Maybe they could do that in 124 laps time. We'll certainly have to find out. But these guys are going at it. Hammer and tongs as we get to the first race of the 2025. They haven't raced in 4 weeks, I should say, in this championship, but they really are going at it as if it's the final race of the season. As we focus on Fredriksson, at one point he was looking to drop outside of the top 10. Now he's getting a bit further. It's funny how the drivers are yo-yoing up and down a little bit as they try and find their place in this race.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange, but the sort of pack racing that we saw in the top 10 early on has sort of dissipated now, and so we've got the pack a little bit further back. There it is. Look at this. About 10, 15 of them, all in one big group here. And this is a little bit strange, to be honest with you, compared to what you would normally see at a sort of circuit like this one. It's just over 2 kilometres in length, which is not quite a mile and a half. So I'm not going to call it a mile and a half because it's not quite, but it is similar in the way that it behaves. A little bit slower speed, maybe, because the banking isn't quite there at only 14 degrees, but it's keeping these packs very, very close together indeed. At front, it is now single filing out, but back here, it's the same kind of racing we were seeing for the lead in the first 15 laps.
It's been a wonderful start to this round 11 of the season, and I think they're finally sorting themselves into a little bit of a single file format, but some drivers still going for it. It's Forsland trying to go up the inside. It's got Lundberg, the 18 machine, going up high there. And once again, it seems like the inside line really is the way to go, and it seems to be the slightly faster way today, as the 27 is going to be sliding up the inside by the time they get to turn number 1 for another time of asking. There was a move up inside the top 5 as well of Hogman and Lepp. They are battling there as well, so definitely plenty of positions still swapping around, and Hogman has been one of those drivers where a lot of his points this season have come in the stage. He's got a lot of stage points this season. That's really bumped himself up the championship. Him, like Linus Broström as well, they've been trying some different strategies to make sure they get inside the top 10. Remember, we stay under green flag racing at the stage, but we do of course get the points: 10 for a win, 1 for P10, and of course separating out in between as well. They are important points adding to your total.
They certainly are, and we've seen that so far this season as well. Top of the current championship standings, Jesper Eriksson has got 56 stage points. That makes up for about whatever 1/8 is percent-wise of his points. He's about one in every 8 points has come from the stages for Jesper Eriksson, so it is very important, especially for those as well who are trying to make it in through the points as well. That's the most likely way for a lot of these drivers now. It's very, very close actually, from Marcus Stiller down in 11th place to Tommy Alto and Dan Peppers, who are tied for 20th. There's just under 70 points there. That's not a lot when you consider one race win is about, I think the maximum you can get is 56 or something. Obviously a race win would get you in anyway, but that's just to give you a reference as to just how close it is and how close a lot of people are to making it.
And the win in your in strategy I really like for so many of these drivers, especially someone like Marcus Stiller. I mean, he's been starting from the back of every single race so far, doing last to first challenge, and if he can somehow sneak himself up there towards the front, sneak himself a win, or even just inside the top 15 on points, to be fair, and he's going to be fighting for this championship in a few months' time. It's pretty crazy. That's the format that we've got, and it keeps it very open indeed. I mean, we saw Eriksson dominate the regular season last year, but then it was Michael Haflidsson who came through and took the championship, so it keeps things very much open, and you just have to go out for every single point that you can in every single race. As we now see a solo hit in the 13 machine, of course, drop back a little bit from where he was at the start, and now he's in a bit of a dogfight in his mid part of the field. He's got Holmbom in P12 just up ahead. He's got Salander, his teammate, in behind. He's got one of the Team Superior cars as well, trying to work their way through, so very congested part of the track.
We saw his hit on the wall out of turn 4, Don Solo, and I think that is why he is dropping through the field now. I think there's some damage there that he's still suffering with. He's now 13th in the field, whereas he was leading the race a little bit earlier on in the day, so disappointment for him certainly. Further up front, Yannis Lepit looks like he's been off the road through turn 1. No, he's just been up the hill by the looks of things. He hasn't spun around, thankfully, but he is down to 10th.
Yeah, that's a big shame, because I would assume he's gone up into the wall like his teammate Dylan Platt did about 10 laps ago, and he's still inside the top 10 though. Let's see, he's going to get pushed. I think it's the 112 of Fredriksson in behind. Oh my word, both AKA Hero cars being spun around, but both of them saving it nicely. And to be honest, that was actually not too bad. I was expecting the spin to be a lot worse, but either way, he's lost a few seconds, and Fredriksson, who's now up into 5th place, was the cause of that. And there's a 2-second loss for Leppit, but of course 5 positions, which is the important factor as we're on to lap 25 and the opening stage here in Nashville.
I would say that was probably worse in towards turn 1 in terms of how close they were to a wider accident there. That looked a little bit worse actually in towards turn 1, but again, good job from Janis Leppit, as it was a good job from also Dylan Platt to save his car as well from spinning around. So they've done a good job to keep us going, Green Flag Racing. And by the way, now that we've got into the first 25 laps of this race, this is the longest Green Flag run since, in terms of kilometres, since Indianapolis, where we had obviously a no caution race because it was a road race. So it's been a very, very long time since we've had this many kilometres from the back end of Charlotte, where we had a nice run to the end, and the front end of this one we're having a nice start for this length of Green Flag run, and it's providing a race for the lead just like this one.
Yeah, this is really good racing. I'm enjoying Nashville so far. It's getting close up towards the front. It's turned into a bit of just a two-way battle where Blix gets the run off turn 2, and he's going to be sliding it up the inside so far. That has been where you want to be in terms of a battle, but can the 37 actually use that midline to his advantage? He does. He squeezes Blix just on the exit of 4 perfectly and was able to hold the lead as he comes across the stripe to lead another lap, and Blix needs to try something else, but the 95 is really looking good, to be honest. He wasn't the fastest Alcantech car last season. It was Hafley that was really bringing the speed there, but the 95, as they come back here for another season, joining halfway through, he's already won a race previously, the last race, and of course is looking very fast once again. This is great to see. We come back to the 71 of Linus Brewster. He's trying to fight through the field after a bit of a tricky qualifying. We know he likes to play the long game, but he needs to get the points as well. At least needs to get up inside the top 10 to try and sneak a point for this championship.
Well, he's already got that one race win, so he knows he'll be in the playoffs, but where is he going to be in relation to the round of 15? How many playoff points is he going to get? That's all still to be decided, so he wants to make up some of those places, and initially actually lost positions on the start here. He's still actually 2 down on where he qualified, but he is finally starting to make some inroads down the inside, this time of Daniel Solo, to take that 13th place. So Solo has been just stemming the tide a little bit in these last few moments. He's now, but though, losing positions again, back down to 14th place after leading this race not that long ago.
Bohlin gets through on Platt as well for P7. So Bohlin, we haven't really spoken about him so far this race, but another driver for the MABI Brighty Sports entry, of course, teammates with Brewstrom and Aroldsson. He's been very strong in the last 6 months or so, really making some good inroads towards the end of the previous season, and now is coming strong once again up inside that top 7. And the MABI Brighty Sports are really a team to look out for towards the end of this championship. But let's see how far he can get up. He needs obviously another few places really to be challenging the big points for this opening stage. We're actually starting to see it spread out just a little bit. So the top 2 have got away from Aroldsson. There's a little bit of a gap to Hagman, and then a 2-second gap back to Fredriksson in 5th place. So they need to be careful not to spread that one out too much more, as we're now halfway into this opening stage. Here, as we now gone to lap 31, Blix chasing down the 37, not able to find a way through.
Just for the moment, by the way, we've reached 1.5 second drop-off, so we were expecting that to be possibly even earlier than it has actually ended up being, but only 30 laps into this one, we have now had 1.5 seconds of a drop-off for these tyres. Could that stretch this back into a 2-stop again? Because the fuel might well take you the 140 laps on just 2 tanks, but if your tyres are dropping off this much by lap 30 or so, then you'd expect that some of these drivers will be taking a risk around lap 45, 50, especially those who are not inside the top 10.
Yes, and especially if they're going to expect it to be a two-stop anyway, you're going to want to come in first, get that undercut, and then work your way forward. But it is a risk because, as Ewan says, if everyone pits, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're the only person to pit, you are going to be losing out on those stage points. We're looking at the battle for 16th place. There's the 77 Peter Helmbro. Of course, he's got a multiple-time pole position winner. He's been on the podium as well, and he's been strong both in the Oval Series and the Road Course Series, which will be coming back in a few weeks as well with a bit of a new look after the IndyCars in 2024. And he's having a big dive there up the inside of Salander, working his way through turns 1 and 2. Salander in that green Alcantech car. He's going to file in behind, almost a bit of contact with the 35 of Robert Ericsson. Front to rear corner. Ericsson goes up into the wall as he's still trying to sort of control the car after that tiny bit of contact. The 18 of Lundberg, and I think that's Kenneth Tier as well, the 47 trying to slide through.
Yeah, that was Lundberg there, just avoiding an accident really on the back straight rather than actually actively making a move, but graze on the wall, that real sharp jink to the left, just trying to make sure that they don't cause a pilot with themselves on the back straight. Here we can continue green flag racing, 35 laps now, nearly into this race, and we've got a very long opening green flag run, although that's Fredriksson losing a lot of time now. I wonder whether we've had someone rear-ended again, and that would be ironic for Fredriksson, who of course hits which one did he hit? That was Lepit, Janus Lepit he hit. Be quite ironic if the opposite happened to him.
Yes, maybe a bit of karma. As in the background, we're side by side with Havlissen go around the outside of Dylan Platt. They squeeze up into the corners of each other's cars as we work our way through turn 2. But the number 1 makes his way through. That's the AK Hero cars, and now on the edge of the top 10. As is actually Lepe, I think, just getting past his teammate as well. Shows you how quickly these positions can change around in this championship. Such close fighting. We're going to see this with... he's already up into the wall, actually.
Yeah.
Hodgson was in the live pictures. Robert Ericsson, he's made a mess of coming into the pit lane. Obviously, focused on the replay. Didn't see if there was some contact there, but that was a bit of a weird one. Also for Fredriksson, he was already up into the wall. A bit of a Ross Chastain style, working his way around the barrier.
Well, far less successful, of course. But yeah, we've got a few drivers into the pit lane down at the bottom, by the way. So. Something to keep an eye on there. This is almost exactly a quarter of the way through the race. 35 laps would have been the 25% distance mark. So maybe there was a bit of a thinking about coming into the pit lane. He certainly looked like it there, and he was certainly hit as well. Nearly saved it, and then just at the very end, as he was trying to slow down that last bit, got into the grass, and that's going to have cost him quite a lot of time.
Yes, obviously not the driver behind not quite prepared for the pit entry, and that's actually one thing to look out for, Ewan, because it looks like that pit entry is quite dangerous today. I don't think he's going to be the only accident. Let's see this once again, the 35 coming through. No one in shot just yet, but of course he's going to slow down. It's the 80 here, Skoglund, hitting the back of him. There's a little bit of further contact as well with another one of the Sim Race Sweden cars, but yes, that's a very awkward pit entry and something to look out for if we do get some more green flag pit stops. That could definitely be a big talking point. Other drivers in the pit lane as well, trying to get this undercut, and we're going to see this already, actually. Is this an unlapping situation? I think it might be the leaders. They might be leading the race, but they're not the fastest cars on the track.
There's a number of drivers who are out there again on the circuit after making their pit stops. I can't quite tell you which one this is for the moment, but that was a long stop last time round for Robert Ericsson. He's still in the pit lane, actually, because he had that contact. So coming up behind him, or coming up behind the leaders, I should say, this being the 43, but also we're doing that. Will be Frederick Eck, Matthias Kjellberg, as well as Dylan Platt. That's who I was going to mention, actually. Dylan Platt came in from the top 10. He's the first to do so. But I'm just a little bit surprised by how early.
Yeah, I think he's got some damage on his car as well from the rubbing up against the wall. Definitely not ideal. Talking of not ideal, the 95 is definitely losing a bit of time with the 43 there, not able to get past smoothly, and just really cars in your peripheral vision and that sort of thing, not able to keep up. There's a 14, which I think is Cannell, as he comes out of the pit lane as well. So these guys are on the fresher tyres, and as you're mentioning, Ewan, there's a drop-off of 1.5 seconds. So that means these the drivers are obviously a bit further down in the standings of this race but they put the fresher tyres on. They're actually faster than the leaders, and they're trying to unlap themselves and really just sort of get in the way a little bit of the leaders. You know, they're absolutely within their rights to be there, but it just becomes a little bit awkward on the track as all the drivers try and navigate themselves. It doesn't seem like the difference in the tyres is absolutely massive. We did see it at some other tracks where you could literally drive around the outside of other people. So it does look like the tyres are holding in a little bit better than some other tracks.
It's a nightmare at the moment for these leaders, with so many lap drivers trying to come back past again. Look at this, Canel is working on the outside of Blix right now, but can't. Oh, there, finally he's going to go. I think Blix just almost slowed down through the middle of the corner as if to say, please do go past, actually, because this is getting in the way a little bit now. Joel Bohlin, for whatever reason, is either, as you say, not experiencing a wild difference in tyres, just a little bit of a difference that's making difficulty overtaking, or he's just not quite being brave enough at the moment in terms of making the move, because it is a pretty big thing to do, to unlap yourself from 2 laps down to 1. You feel like you're a very, very long way behind, yet you're interfering with the leading battle, and I can understand why you'd be hesitant to do that, but he has just got to go and do it, because he's hurting his own race by staying behind, and likely the leaders' races as well. But it's a good example of how these tyres are behaving. I do think those who have pitted this time around, they might be feeling they, in hindsight, went a bit early, actually, when all the rest of them decide to come in the next 5 laps or so.
Yeah, the thing with these pit stops that we worked out this season is I don't think there's necessarily a perfect time to pit, because it all depends what the other drivers do. Because if we get a caution right now, that's going to completely change what the outcome would be, whether we stayed green flag until everyone stops. It's a very difficult one to obviously predict, and I think, again, it just depends. If everyone comes in the same time, or if it's a bit 50-50, it really, really depends how it's going to work out, because it all depends how many cars you have to overtake at a certain point of the race. But the leaders are staying out. I would assume the leaders will stay out for the stage. Some drivers are further places down will go for the pit stop, and one of those drivers is Oliver Wallen in the 72 machine. He's one of the first big boys inside the top 10. He's got someone else following him in the background as well. I do think in the next 5 laps we will see some of those leaders come in, but I think for the leader, as in Ericsson, he might as well stay out and try and get those 10 points, because he's not going to be overtaken on pure pace before that stage.
Well, he won't want the 10 points. He'll want the playoff point, though, that he can take into the round of 15. The 10 points matters a bit less, although it does, I suppose, matter to win the regular season ahead of Linus Broström, who's probably the most likely person to take that off him, and another 10 points on his way to doing that would put his advantage, almost double his advantage at the front of the field. So I think he'll stay out, and I think Eric Blix will stay out as well. The rest of them in the top 10 might be quite tempted to come in, depending on how much they need the points, really. I suppose Haflerson probably needs the points. Hagman as well might need the points, although he is best placed of those who hasn't won a race yet this season. So it's really about personal decision here as to whether they want to start. I mean, for example, I would have said it if I was Eric Blix, but here he is. He's in the pit lane.
Yes, as his teammate Goodison comes in. That is an interesting one, because to be honest, Ewan, I would have agreed with you. It's a big slide in the background. I think that's Forsland, and the 27 comes in. He just about keeps it inside the white line. But yeah, I agree with you, Ewan. I think the 95, or I would have thought the 95 stay out, but let's see what happens. Is now Jesper Eriksson leading the way with just 12 laps before the stage, but maybe it is going to be a 2-stop race today, because you have to remember they have 4 sets of tyres, so they have plenty available to be able to do this 2-stop and still leave a fresh tyre or 2. Or a fresh tyre set, I should say, for a late caution as well. So it's not a bad strategy at all, as we're now seeing Helbro and Leppit battle. These guys were just on the bubble of the top 10, but of course with some pitters now. This is for P7. The 77 tries to go up the inside.
Yeah, still retaining that, and Blix is going to get out right alongside them here as well. Is he going to make this an awkward 3-wide moment? Yes, he is. Oh, and he didn't quite realise. Yeah, that's Leppit. Oh, and he slides as well. He'll be in the wall. Oh, not quite. Well, if he did, he grazed it only, but I think he got away with it, to be honest. A big slide through the middle, and in the end, he's gathered it as he went up the banking there, and he will be back down to 9th again. So he got that little bit of contact earlier on when he was running near the top 5, went back down to 10th, and he's back down to 9th now after a mistake, a little bit of his own making, I've got to say. And now he'll try and make up some of those places again in these final 10 laps of the stage.
I would hate to be the crew chief of the 23 or the 50 today. They've had all sorts of contact and moments, but they are going strong here on lap 50. What a save once again from Lepit. As soon as I saw the front wheels turn a little bit, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, he's going to overcorrect up high towards the wall, but he managed to save it for the second time around. And that was definitely a bit awkward with the 3 wide situation, but they are continuing on nicely for now. But it is getting very close to that stage. And once again, we stay green flag racing. Of course, we don't get any sort of caution break. So you have to choose your strategy wisely with what you want to do now, or where do you want to put yourself for the finish of the race. It is getting close for P2 now, as Marcus Hogman has caught up to the number 24.
Yeah, Hogman, as I say, the best placed driver to have not scored a win so far this season. He's 5th place overall in the points, just inside 100 points of Jesper Eriksson. As we look here at the pit lane, and Jonas Lepit, who is now finally making his way in. He's outside the top 40, by the way, Lepit, so even if he wins a race, he'd be a little bit lucky to get into the top 10 at 30, where he needs to be at the end. This, meanwhile, is Alexander Alderson making his way in from 3rd, so starting to wonder slightly whether there'll be anybody left to take the points now in the top 10, or whether people who pitted will start to pick up some of the latter end of those.
Well, surely Ericsson is going to stay out. We all know Marcus Hogman stays out because that's his strategy all season. So we're pretty sure that those two are. As for everyone else, I guess it's just a feel of how your tyres are. But look at the gap as well for the top 2. They got 7 seconds to P3 now in Fredriksson. They might as well stay out just these few laps extra. We're seeing another driver come down. Now, this was Lepit when he came into the pit lane. Oh, did he spin? Yes, he did. He's going to bonk the wall as well. He's not having the race he would have wanted in that 50 machine. That's a fast car, that 50, but just not able to have the cleanest race today. Unfortunately, the number 1 there of Hafliderson continues on in P6.
It didn't do him any damage, though. I've just looked at his pit stop time, 16 seconds, so that was absolutely fine. Robert Eriksson did after the pit entry we saw from him. Not sure what Tommy Alto did, but he had a 4.5-minute pit stop, so he's last now, I'm afraid. He is still going. He's 9 laps down, though, in 36th position. 55 laps, though, into this one now. We've got on very nicely indeed with the start of this race, turning into a very long opening green flag run. Dan Holmer and Peter Helmbro, meanwhile, battle for 4th place. This is for 7 and 6 points at the moment, and both of them, well, Helmbro certainly could do with it. Holmer's already won a race, so he'll be less desperate, really, and I'm somewhat surprised he's still out there, but he maybe wants to run long anyway, to be honest. As I said earlier, a one-stop is not impossible, even if we go green today.
And look at all the Sim Race Sweden cars, though. They've all stayed out. Oh, into the wall. There goes the 24 as he tries to come around the outside. Of course, he's already made his pit stop, trying to unlap himself, getting a bit awkward. Helmbro is looking very strong. We're 3 wide with the 24, unlapping himself around the outside. That is the speed of the fresher tyres, able to go around them like they're standing still. And now we're side by side on the back straight. The 112 on that outside line, the 77 on the inside. Can he slide his way through? The 112 squeezes him down towards the apron, holding him tight to try and get the run off the exit of turn 4, but he doesn't quite have the momentum to do so as we go through another lap. Just a couple of laps to go now. More contact down the front straight.
Very close to finding them both in the fence there. The way those two cars were starting to make contact looked very, very like they were about to end up in the wall together, and Helmbro just about able to do the slide job on Fredriksson there. Slide up in front of the 112, and he's got 3rd place, but Holmer is going to have something to say as well. He goes down the inside for 4th place. These 3 fighting for that 8th place playoff point here or the stage point, I should say, here in a few moments' time. Just 3 laps to go and to that point, and they're fighting very hard for it.
Oh, they certainly are, as this is a bit of an awkward situation for the teammates and the blinking of the 79, but it looks like Holmer is all good and trying to battle for what is now P3. Helmbro's really come strong at the end of this opening stage. Of course, remember, Holmer and Fredriksson, they were the front row on the grid. They had the speed in qualifying, but as we get in towards the race, they've really dropped back. The only reason why they've got these places is because some other people have strategically gone down the pit lane as we're on lap 59. So just 1 lap after this to go in the stage.
Yeah, and some people, I've got to say, surprising me slightly with staying out there. Dan Holm, I suppose, is who I'm thinking about there when I say that, because he's already got a win this season. He's not going to drop out the top 30. don't really see a benefit to him staying out and finishing fourth, to be honest, but he's decided to do that, unless he decides to go for a one-stop here in this race. I guess he has to be doing that. If he doesn't do that, then I think it's a bit odd, to be honest with you. We'll see, though, as we get to lap 60 now, just one more lap before Jesper Eriksson comes through and takes his third stage win of the season.
Absolutely, and that's a great point that some drivers might be trying to go to that lap 70 mark to do a one-stop in this race. That is a bit of a stretch on fuel, but certain drivers have done it so far this season. However, as we come to the end of the stage, it's going to be Jesper Eriksson in the 37 coming through turn 3 and 4. He is going to be taking victory in this stage. We remain under the green flag racing as we have done since the start here, but the MABI Hyrbilar 300 stage win goes to Jesper Eriksson as we continue our way on in this race. And down towards P10, it looks like Solander is just going to hold on to that P10. Of course, some big drivers getting points as well, with Haflidsson and Broström up there in the top 10.
Solander just took it off. Kenneth Tier, he just overtook him at 3 and 4 on the very last lap of that stage. So Andre Solander there getting a point right at the very, very end. Neither of them are anywhere near the top 15 at the moment, so they're probably hoping for a race win anyway. But that was a late pass. Have a look at this. Out of turn 4, it's a photo finish. I think he got it anyway. It's a photo finish, but Solander just stealing that 1 point. As I say, I don't think it will be too consequential for their seasons, but because it's pretty much win or their bust. But it could prove to be important, as we see, as someone's round in the background. Don't know who that is, unfortunately, but those who stayed out for the playoff points and the stage points are now starting to come in, including the race leader, Jesper Eriksson.
Yeah, who was that going around? Was it Dahlstrom? I think it was Tademo, actually, in the background. Not the ideal situation, but yeah, as soon as the stage goes, all the drivers coming down pit lane, they've got their points. Now they want their fresh tyres, but that means it will be a two-stop race for them, but they have a much, much shorter race. Absolutely, as it's all changed up towards the front, and it's absolute carnage out there. We got wow, I can't talk. We got Broström leading the way. He's there on that inside line. We've got all these drivers on new tyres trying to come around. Haflidsson staying out as well. Pretty crazy scenes.
I bet that Broström's doing one stop, first of all, but that's not what I was going to say. Look, I was going to highlight the gap between Eriksson and Blix right now. Blix is 11 seconds behind Linus Broström, which first of all was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, but anyway, that's not the point. 14 seconds further behind that is Jesper Eriksson. So the two of them pitted 15 laps apart, just less than, and that's the amount of time that has been stretched out between them. Now, Eriksson's going to have quite a lot fresher tyres, because actually Blix has been out there for so long now, his tyres are going to be starting to fall away a little bit. That's how long he's been out there so far. However, that's a very big gap for Eriksson to come back and get now, and we'll see if he can do. This is Broström, meanwhile, at the final corner. He is one of just 6 drivers now, or 7 if you include Skoglund, who's already getting eaten up by some people who are on new tyres, who have yet to make a pit stop and surely are trying to make it the 70 laps.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to work out if this is going to work, but we did see it back in Iowa. We saw the likes of Gunnarsson. Of course, he actually just ran out of fuel at the end there. They were stretching it so much, and Broström came across to get his race victory. But we have seen this strategy work when we have these long green flag runs. You can really save the fuel. And of course, when you have a 70-lap run like they're aiming for, even if it's just a couple of laps that you need to save, it's just 0.1 litre every lap here and there. That will get you enough, but that's because you have 70 laps to do it. If you try and save that same amount in 10 laps, obviously you have to lift off too much. So it's really the marginal gains that add up a lot over time. As we, of course, are looking at a very fast car, the number 13 machine as well, of Solo. He's really trying to keep himself in there after a bit of an interesting opening stint here, as it's all changed after this stage and the pit stops coming into effect.
Yeah, maybe Solo isn't damaged. I mean, it's hard to tell at the moment whether he has got damage, but it felt earlier like he was falling through the field because he couldn't really do anything about it. Now all of a sudden it turns out he might well have been fuel saving, and he's starting to see the benefits of that. But look at this, on board with Andre Solander, we've got Michael Haflidsson just up ahead, a few lap cars as well. When I say a few, I really mean it, maybe more. And then we've got Broström and Solo as well. Look at the high line here. He's so up high there. He's in the marbles and all sorts, Solander. He's going to be losing time, but 3 laps to go, and they've made it to halfway. And don't forget, this is without any caution, so surely the one stop is going to be possible. It certainly looks like it is from the way that these guys are continuing on.
And Blixt is now up into P6. Marcus Stiller in the 013 machine, he's now taken his pit stop. So here he hasn't quite made it to halfway. But for the likes of Brostrom, Solo, Haflidis and Salander, the top four, they are still out there trying to make it to that half race distance. Is it going to be enough? The problem is that Blixt is going to catch up to them on that pure pace. I guess by that time they would have already come into the pit lane, but the fresh tyres are working out to be very good indeed. And remember, it's not actually lap 17 he's to get to, it's really lap 71 to make the final race, the final half of the race, just that little bit shorter rather than stretching it as we've seen Hockenschott. He hasn't quite been able to make it. Lap 69. And the tough part with that is, without a caution, they are going to need to have a splash and dash at the end. So they have a strategic option. Therefore, if they're basically still forced into a two-stop, they can pit very late onto some fresher tyres. You are coming across the stripe.
Yeah, so they've done it. So they've done it. They are going to have to do 70 laps. I know that he's slowing down quite a lot there. I hope he's not out of fuel. I'm sure he's not, but they've managed it at least halfway. The one thing I would say, though, is that they have looked a bit slow recently, and you know, that's no disrespect to them. I just think the amount that they're actually having to save is hurting them a little bit, actually, and they're going really slowly as a result. Surely, they're carrying on again. So they've oversaved, if anything, and they could do with picking up the pace a little bit now. Try and get what you can out of this stint, but get in the pit lane ASAP now and try and make this one-stop work, because Eric Blixt is coming. He's only, 6.5 seconds away, although he won't be far from pitting himself.
Yeah, this is a very interesting strategy from these drivers to go so long on this opening stint. I guess maybe they're also hoping for a caution at some point as well to help with their pit stop time, but they are certainly trying to make it work as they come down pit road, lap 71. Does everyone come down pit lane?
Wow.
Has Hafley stayed out? Yes, he has. So he's going to go for another lap, trying to go that little bit further.
That was close, by the way. Solo very nearly hit Brostrom on the way into the pit lane. You see how close they're running with each other down the pit lane itself. Now Brostrom will get into the box, and Solo will go on a bit further because he qualified right up inside the top 5 in this one, even though he's not been running there for quite some time now. They'll go up on the right-hand side, Jackson, then the left, and then they'll get on their way again as well. But Haflidis has carried on, as you say. Blixt is right behind him as of right now. Haflidis the only one yet to have made a stop. That now changes, as you can see him in the background making his way down as well.
Or is that going to be a race off pit road? No, I think actually Brostrom is going to hold on to that, but that was a little bit tighter than he would have wanted. There's the number 1 machine of Haflidis coming down pit lane. Blixt stays out. This is quite crazy, actually, how much further on the field they're going. But as you say, there's a lot of fuel saving. Brostrom much slower there on the exit of turn 2, getting back up to speed. Can Solo nick that position? Maybe Brostrom strategically trying to just save some fuel as well. Of course, they need to go 1 lap less now to the end of the race, but the 13 round the outside, and he's pushing already. But it looks like Brostrom is playing the long game, and we'll just have to see if this one is going to work out, because if there's a caution a bit later on, then they're going to stop along with everyone else for fresh tyres at the same time, so their margin will be basically negated at that point. But if it stays green, then we do have a bit of a race on. One
thing they do need to think about is getting back on the lead lap before they do anything else, really. Bohlin at the moment just gets past there by Jesper Eriksson. He's got Jonas Gunnarsson not too far behind him, but yeah, those two are off the lead lap, and if things like this happen, they could be in big trouble. That was really close there, as behind Jesper Eriksson, a couple of lap cars. Hockenschott is one of them. He's not leaning on Daniel Solo, but it's one of his teammates, and that they very nearly caused a caution there, right in behind Eriksson. That's exactly the danger that Solo and Brostrom have got at the moment on their strategy. They could be caught a lap down by Eric Blixt, and it's going to be difficult for them to get their lap back, because Blixt is still going to be out there for another 20 laps probably. There he is, and there just going through is Brostrom, so they have done it. Now they can get to fuel saving a little bit more.
Yes, you are very right there. That could have been awkward if they got stuck a lap down. Being on the lead lap is so important in this style of racing. Should a caution come out, really ruins your day and makes it a little bit harder. We've seen Eck come into the pit lane in the 19 machine, and it's an interesting one, actually, Ewan, how this race is unfolding, because we might start talking about these drivers making their pit stop to the end in another sort of 15 laps or so. So definitely an interesting one of how we have the ebb and flow. And of course now Blixt, he had the advantage there for a bit, but now it is going to be coming back the way of Brostrom and Solo. So it really is a long strategy for these drivers. It looks like Lepit's got himself back on the lead lap as well, as we're seeing Edwin Forsland as well, your IndyCar Series champion, in the number 27, won it by just a point or two, and was able to take victory, of course, in that situation. But in this championship, not having quite as much success in that 27. But let's see what he can do with just 4 races to go in this regular season.
Yeah, this is getting to the crunch time now for absolutely everybody, and who is going to win this race and maybe even get themselves in the playoffs. Although first driver who's not won a race yet this season at the moment in this race is down in 5th place. Jonas Gunnarsson, he's what, 8.5 seconds off the lead at the moment, and he might not even be on the winning strategy at the moment. We just don't know at the moment, so it's going to be interesting, as that's a very slow run to the back straight there. Peter Helmro will take advantage of that. He's got Daniel Holmer right in behind him as well. This is the battle for 8th place. That is Oscar Fredriksson just in behind them as well, as Dylan Platt is in. That's the first of the 2 stoppers making his way in.
That's a bit early, I think. Just a couple of laps ago, I thought it might be another 15 laps before we see it, but interesting, very interesting, because he's now got to go a long way, and then if we get a caution, he's then going to stop and effectively do an extra pit stop to everyone else. So I would have waited a lot longer before making that pit stop if I was on a 2-stop, but he thinks that's the way to go, so he's certainly going to do so. But we still have 60 laps to go in this race. There's still a long way to go for these tyres, and that's only a few laps after the 1-stoppers have pit, so very interesting.
I think that makes it pretty bad news actually for the 1-stoppers though, to be honest, because they're going to have to fuel save, whereas the 2-stoppers certainly won't do, and they'll be on slightly fresher tyres as well. I think the 2-stop is probably the right strategy to be on, but just help you keep you on the lead lap in a race where getting off of the lead lap very, very easy when you lose so much time in the pit lane. And we'll see whether we even get one here today. We're over halfway through now. Can't remember the last time we got more than halfway through a race before we had a caution. I can't think of it, to be honest with you. So we'll go and check that. But it's been a long run so far. This is Ericsson versus Aronson. Meanwhile, side by side for second. Ericsson, of course, is gaining again after staying out to win that first stage. He is gaining that time back on Eric Blix. He was over 12 seconds behind at one stage. He's now just over 4.
Yeah, it's funny how the strategies ebb and flow. It was looking so good for Blixt at one point, but now give it another few laps and Ericsson is going to be right on his tail, trying to make something work in that 37 machine. There's really a split in the strategies today from the various drivers, and of course Aronson there is looking strong as ever. Your champion a few years ago in this series, but now in that 24 MABI Esports and having a strong run of it once more. But look at Aronson just pulling away by 5-6 car lengths already, really showing the speed. And it was looking very single file, very close in those opening 20, 30, 40 laps of the race. But as we get further on, as we got these pit stops, this top 10 is a lot more spread out with the tyre wear and the difference in strategies coming into effect.
I can't really explain what was going on in the opening part of the race, to be honest. It was racing on a circuit like this that I haven't really seen before. I guess it's just the way that this car interacts with this Nashville Super Speedway, but this is more like what you'd expect to see. Top 10 covered by 16 seconds out, loads of different strategies, and this is why these long green flag runs are so positive. Can you imagine if we had to have a caution at lap 60 when we had the stage, just ruining all the tyre strategy and all the interest of this race completely? Nobody would have had to have stopped in the first 60 laps. Some people wouldn't have stopped under green all day, and there likely would have been another caution after the competition caution as well, I suppose. So it would all be a mess. But look at what we're seeing at the moment. Lots of different strategies, different ways of thinking about getting through this race on tyres and on fuel as well, which is something we don't see very, very often actually. But it's so good to see, and another reason, another positive as to why we should keep going green after we dish out the stage points. Nothing wrong with the stage points themselves. It's the caution that comes afterwards that is the problem.
Absolutely, we want to keep these strategies going, and if you do get a race like this where we stay under green flag racing, the tyre strategies really come into effect. And I wonder how many drivers actually practice for it being a full green flag race, because the chances are very low. But if it happens, it happens. We've already had it once so far this season at the road course of Indianapolis. But in terms of a green flag, an oval green flag race, not just yet. We're getting some moves inside the top 10 though. Holmer and Holmbom, they've been swapping around. We've got Gunnarsson as well, trying to get past Hogman to get up inside the top 5. Round the outside for the 33 is going to be your champion a couple of seasons ago now, trying to work his way all the way around the outside. It looks like the 12 is very fast on that inside line. It's been very good all day indeed. So the 33 is going to have to really try this to continue his run on the outside as we work into 1 and 2.
Still they battle. It's going to have this pretty easily. Going to just had a better run right on the outside, to be honest, and so he moves up to 5th place ahead of Magnus Hogman as Christopher Dahlstrom comes in a little bit further down. He's over a lap down though at this stage. Still all 36 in the race, all within 10 laps of the leader, which is certainly good to see as we approach lap 90, just over 50 laps still to go in this race, and plenty to still play out. Just under 3 seconds now between Blix and Ericsson, and I wonder how much they'll be looking at just each other and how much they'll be looking at the one-stoppers, who they really see as each other's biggest rival.
That was quite an interesting battle actually, because Gunnarsson has 15 lap older tyres than Hogman. Hogman has the fresher tyres here, but it was actually Gunnarsson who was able to fight around the outside. Very interesting indeed, as the tyres have been such a talking point of the season so far. But what were told for this race is that they have that big drop in that first 20 laps and it stabilises quite a lot. Whereas at some previous tracks, it would drop in the first 20 laps and then just keep on dropping. So very interesting. It's slightly different at this venue. It's the Nashville Super Speedway, but it's been a very interesting race so far. Lap 100 coming up to us thick and fast. We've been green since the start of this race, the MABI 300, and it's working out to be a very interesting race indeed. We've got 3 different strategies going on around the track, and of course we've got the fighting that continues on between the 12 and the 33.
Yeah, I hadn't spotted that. It is interesting. Hogman must have been one of those who pitted just after the stage points were awarded. He banked those and then got onto the racetrack again with new tyres, but still not quite able to dispatch Gunnarsson. But I think you're right. It is about those tyres just dropping off and then hitting a plateau right to the very end of the fuel stint, really, which is a bit odd, really. I don't think we've seen a tyre set like that actually at any of the circuits yet, but it's good to have that variety, and good that these two are actually quite well matched now. They've found each other on the circuit. They're only separated by a few tenths of a second, as are Holmbom and Fredriksson down there. Daniel Holmer at 8th place, just up ahead of them. He's got a bit of breathing room over those two, fighting for 9th place. There they are. Holmbom first, then Ericsson in the darker livery. And this is just inside the top 10 as well, with just under now 50 laps to go in an extraordinarily long green flag run.
Yeah, I wonder, can we make it all the way to the end? And it's one of those things where the longer the green flag run, the more people spread out, and therefore the less chance of a caution there's going to be. But you never know if when we get the next round of pit stops and you have the difference in speed come to be more effective, therefore we could get some further incidents a bit later on. But that is certainly for the future, and in the present we are seeing Fredriksson from the front row of the grid, of course. He's dropped back now into P10. He's off the back of Holmer, who he shared that front row with. He's got his sister team at Holmbom just in front as they work their way down the back straight in towards turn 3 and 4. And Fredriksson is one of those drivers who is he's definitely a top 10 driver. You know, on his day, he could probably fight for the podiums and maybe even a race win. But he's a solid top 10 driver in this championship, and he's really trying to keep up with the mid pack in this top 10. The issue is they've dropped off quite a bit, so there's quite a big gap already to the P6 car, let's say, of Gunnarsson. It's now about 6 seconds or so. There's going to be a lot to catch up.
Eric Blix is in. So just inside lap 100, Eric Blix is in, and this I thought he would wait a bit longer actually, because none of his rivals behind were quite coming in, and he wasn't going to be in danger fuel-wise yet, but he's decided to go now before Ericsson could get there. And I suppose Ericsson had just gotten into the range where if he'd have pitted even one lap earlier, he might have overtaken Eric Blix. So he clearly didn't want that to happen in the 95. He just wanted to cut that off. Now, big moment coming up here as to where he is in relation to Daniel Solo and Linus Broström, and indeed how much time he'll have to catch up to get to them again. I believe they've already gone past him. That much is not the surprise, but it will be the gap that may shock us a little bit. Broström and Solo are nose to tail, 19 seconds off the lead. I think it's going to be more difficult to tell actually, because Eric Blix is off the lead lap, but it's over 10 seconds with just over 40 to go.
Yes, interesting ones. So, as you're saying, the 71, the 13 that we're looking at there, they are, in theory, going to the end of this race. So, all the drivers that will be making their second stop of a two-stop strategy now, they will be going behind and having to chase down. But we do know that these drivers, 71 and 13, not only will they be going slower because they're going to be on much older tyres, but they've got to do a lot of fuel saving as well to get to the end of this race, and that is generally one of the biggest factors when you see the gaps at the end, because they might get to the final 5 laps and they realise they need to save a lot of fuel, and they could easily go 3 seconds lap slower at that point, and then it doesn't matter what the gap is going to be.
This is not helpful though. This is traffic, and they could really do without this, Broström, and so it on the one hand does help them to save fuel a little bit, but you want to save fuel on your own terms. You don't want to do it sort of enforceably with people still ahead of you, and Edvin Forson's just running his race. To be fair to him, he's not doing anything wrong per se, but he will not be Broström and Solo's biggest fan at the moment as they try and work their way through on the inside line. Broström has mostly done it now into turn 1 and 2. He will seal the deal with Solo trying to do the same in a few moments' time. Up into the top 10 they go then for the first time in a while, since they were out there on the circuit indeed, still making their fuel strategy work. So this is not particularly helpful, but Forson is just running his race and very nearly slid straight to the side of them. Now Solo will get round the outside and they're clear, but if every overtake's going to be that difficult, then they could be losing a lot of time.
Yeah, and that's one of those awkward moments where he's on basically double the age tyres. He's on 50-lap tyres. It's 25, 26 laps for Solo and Broström. So they are on much fresher tyres, but they are trying to go a lot longer. I would assume the Forsland is going to come in very soon. Ericsson comes into the pit lane just before lap 100 as well. So I wonder if that's sort of to cover off too much of an undercut from the likes of Blix. He's got his teammates coming in behind as well. He's got Holmer, Holmbom there, and I would just assume Fredriksson probably followed them in as well. Pretty interesting that all the teammates coming at the same time. But lap 99 we go. Solo is going for the effective race lead in that 13 machine. They are up to P6 as it stands, but this could be the lead later on.
It certainly could. Just less than 100 laps complete, and now it could be the lead very soon, actually. Alexander Audsen is in. Here comes Marcus Hagman as well. This is going to be interesting as Solo now gets a little bit of rearview mirror action here from Linus Broström, who was just a little bit higher there, through 3 and 4. Now he's looking for the lead again, but this is surprising me a little bit. The fact these two are squabbling between themselves could mean they stare each other into the abyss a little bit. They need to work together just for the moment so that they can maybe beat the two stoppers later, and if there's time, fight for the win. But look at the gap to Eric Blix, who's back in the top 10 already. It's only 10 seconds with 40 laps to go.
Yeah, this is working out to be a really exciting race here at Nashville. We've had 100 laps, 40 laps remain, so we'll take this opportunity to take a few messages from our partners, and then we'll be back to bring you through the final stages here at Nashville. And we're back for the MABI Hyrbilar 300 as we are entering round 11 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. It's myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me as we work our way through the final stages of this race. We've had what could potentially be the final pit stops, but it depends. Is there going to be a caution to the end? We've been green since the start, and we are looking at the 13 of Solo, who's the effective race leader. We're still waiting for Oliver Bohlin to make his strategic pit stop, and then it is all towards the end of this race. We're looking at Lundberg coming in along with the 23 of Dylan Platt there for the AKA Hero team as well. What a race it's been so far. We've got 1 stops and 2 stops at play. Solo and Brostrom, they're going for the 1 stop. They pit at lap 70-72 and they are now trying to go to the end. The issue is they're saving fuel and tyres to the end. Eric Blixt is leading the charge, but he's already just a couple of seconds in behind, so they're not going to win the race on this strategy. But if there's a a caution, and therefore a pit stop at the right time, they might just be able to save a good result.
Yeah, I think they are still going to finish better than what they would have if they had 2 stopped. However, they are very unlikely to win the race from here. Having said that, they have been struggling to pass cars in traffic, and you're seeing an example of that, albeit for others here. But Blix is just not finding that at the moment. He's finding a way through the traffic a lot easier. So that's their one saving grace, I suppose, that it is possible to defend and get in his way. If they can do that, then they might have a chance. But Blix has already passed Kenneth Tier, and this race for the effective win is going to be going on very, very soon.
Oh, it is, and things can change around so quickly in this championship, and the 95 of Blixt is coming for that lead, of course. As you mentioned, we're still waiting for Bohlin to come in. He's done 64 laps on this stint, so he's gone a long, long way. He's going to be coming in, but he is the teammate of Brostrom, of course, in that 3rd place as it stands. Don't know if they're waiting for the for a caution maybe to make that final stop, but as it looks so far, we may not be getting a caution all day. We've been green since the start, 110 laps here at the Nashville Super Speedway, and this battle for the win is still going on. Blixt is coming. He's now in the background a shot as well in that blue machine as he chases down these 2.
Yeah, this is going to be important. Brostrom needs to realise that squabbling between the 2 of them is only going to result in a Blixt pass, surely, and he's looking again at turn 1 and 2. He would have really wanted to have been first in the pair of them before Blixt got there, but it's sort of too late now. There is the 95 in the background. If they end up going side by side, he'll just get the run on both of them and pass them, so it's very difficult to justify trying to make the move. Here comes another lap car, by the way. Dylan Platt up the inside, trying to unlap himself. That could help Eric Blixt as well. Look at this. He's on the inside of Brostrom already. He'll have a window to get through on Daniel Solo as well. It could be done in a matter of moments here.
And remember, it's all Contech teammates as well between the 13 and the 95. Linus will be the first to be dispatched there. The 71 goes, but now it is all up to the 13. You would assume, being teammates, they're going to be in contact, and the 95 is going to slip through in a nice way. But the 13 needs to be careful because he doesn't want to lose time as such and let the 71 get that track position. So it's going to be quite important for all Contech to control this overtake, but I don't think it's going to be too difficult. Of course, we've got Lundberg there as well. he's unlapping himself from the 71 as well. So Broström just going backwards at these important corners of the race. The 13 though still looking strong, and now Lundberg is trying to undercut Blix, but Blix round the outside in the 95. He's going to be taking the race lead, and that may be the race win if we go green to the end today.
Yeah, there's quite a long way to go before that, but he's in prime position now. Don't forget about Jesper Eriksson though. 5 laps fresher tyres and catching as a result of all of this. Only 3.5 seconds behind him as well. He's far more likely to take this race win away from Blix than one of these two are, because they're on such old tyres. Eriksson though is on newer tyres than the 95.
Certainly is, but it's not that new in comparison. So in the previous stint, he was quite a bit newer tyres. He was really looking to be good, whereas now it's just 5 laps, so there might not be as much of an advantage to gain those 3 seconds. Whereas in the previous stint, he gained about 11 seconds on Blixt. So I don't think he's going to quite have that speed. However, he's also got less laps to do so. So 25 laps remain in this race for him to chase down 3 seconds.
It was 15 laps, by the way, in the first stint, and now just 5. So, yeah, the time gain is going to be less, but it is going to be there for sure. 4/10 of a second last time round. Blix losing out to Eriksson. So, if that carries on, I can't quite do that maths really. What's 25 to 100/10 of a second? 10 seconds? Yeah, I suppose it's possible in that case. But yeah, it is going to be tricky, certainly, to do that. We'll see whether he can manage it over the course of the remainder of the race, because of course you've got to make these 2 passes for position as well on Solo and Broström, and I know that Blix didn't find it that easy, but surely it is going to be a little bit of a time loss for Jesper Eriksson as well, if he even gets there.
Oh, absolutely. I think he will slide through fairly easy, but as you say, overtaking in many ways hasn't been that easy at this track. Possible, but not easy. And I wonder just who is going to catch up to these two of Solo and Broström as well. Looking at their speed is actually not doing too bad. So in terms of their last laps, I mean, they're doing low 33s, but also doing 33s as have listen.
Someone went off there. Someone spun to the inside. It might have been Thomas Kinnell. Not sure who it was, but they may have been below the yellow line there as they were spinning around. But that might be the first time we've seen someone go around. Jonas Skoglund is making his way back out on pit lane after some damage, clearly, because his pit stop was quite long. But it looked like the car of Thomas Kinnell, who spun to the inside there. There was no contact or anything. Just seemed to lose it on the rears out of turn 2. And, well, we look like we've got away with it.
Maybe just 20 odd laps to go in this race, and it is the 14 of Kinnell. You know, you look away for 1 second, and then is he going to make some contact with Broström? No, Broström lets him go. He then just loses the rear end on that awkward mid line. He does a bit of lawn mowing and actually saves the car rather nicely indeed. But as you say, Ewan, if he spun that around and a caution came out, that would have changed things completely, as we do look to go green to the end here.
Yeah, that would have turned the race on its head completely. 21 laps to go at the end of this one now, and Jesper Eriksson would be one of those, maybe hoping for a caution right now, because he knows that a race win's all he's really interested in here, and the player points that comes with it. Is he going to get those heading forward into the next part of this season? When he's right on the back of us here, you can see it in the rearview mirror there. He's actually got a lap car to pass first, but then he'll be on to Linus Broström. Surely it's going to be second at a minimum here for Jesper Eriksson, but I think Solo and Broström might be left to fight out for third and fourth themselves. That is a much better return than they were going to get before they employed this strategy.
Yeah, fortunately, they've got a bit of a gap behind Eriksson. There's 5 seconds to Salander, as it's getting very close in the background. The driver's going up towards the wall. It's very, very tight racing here at Nashville. It's been certainly quite a difficult one today, as we're seeing the number 1 of Haflidsson. He's battling with Aronson for 6th and 7th position. The 24 has got that place as it stands on the outside line through 3 and 4. And as we go back to Jesper Eriksson, is he going to be diving up the inside of his long-standing rival, Linus Broström? Yes, he he is, and that is the Championship 1 and 2 in your picture. They are leading the way quite nicely, actually, as there's a little bit of a wiggle there from the 37. Maybe just trying to indicate to Canel to not get involved too much in this championship battle. The 37 also slide in the rear end, coming through there as he tries to make his way up the inside of the number 13 and get up to second place in this race.
If this goes on for too long for Ericsson, then his chances of winning this race, his slim chances of winning this race, are just going to slide away, I'm afraid. So he just needs to get this done pretty quickly, and he's not going to let it happen easily. It's Daniel Solo. We know that there will be teammate games going on there. Ericsson will try and shove him out through turn 2, but that's not quite going to happen. There's a lap car as well on newer tyres, by the way, that is trying to make their way through. Solo again slides up in front of Ericsson. This is possibly race-winning moments here for Eric Blix.
Absolutely, this is such good teammate defending, let's say, from Dan Solo, of course, defending his position, but inadvertently also helping his teammate Blix out towards the front. I don't think he's thinking about that just yet. He's trying to keep on to this second place, though, but he hasn't quite got it because the 37 is trying to come up wide and squeeze him. Look at the acceleration mid-corner with those slightly newer tyres, and he's able to pull away. The 13 comes to the inside to try and defend. He has to go up the inside of turn 3. Fair play to the 13 here, trying to hold on with these older tyres. Around the outside is going to have to be for Jesper Eriksson as he just about holds on to that place. He gets up to second, and he's got 2.5 seconds to catch in the last 17 laps of this race.
I'm not sure what the maths is on that, but he does need quite a lot of time per lap, considering the small relative advantage he's got tyre wear wise. Now finally round the outside goes the 93 and can really get going here. Solo is going to be boxed now by, oh dear, all sorts of lap cars. That was Prostrom in the background, really sliding his way out of turn 2. He did save it quicker than Thomas Canel did, but he will be losing time. Look at the amount of cars that are coming through at him here. It is crunch time now for these guys on old tyres who are looking for top 10s. Solo, Prostrom, Salander and Haflidersen have all elected to go for this one stop, and at the moment they're all carrying on in the top 10.
Yeah, this is actually looking very good as we'll get the replay here, trying to see what is going to happen. Yeah, just slide in that rear end, and a very good save indeed as he was able to catch that, but he does lose a little bit of time. And yeah, you're right. So I was looking at the likes of Salander in behind, but it's actually Aronson, his teammate, really, that's the one to catch down. Then there's a lot of other drivers all going for that one stop who are the positions behind. So the gap to them isn't actually going to be closing down. So I think Prostrom is actually in a good place to hold on. So at least the top 5 as it stands, because excuse me, the gaps behind aren't really coming too close. But I say that, you look again in a few laps time and maybe it's a different picture with those tyres wearing off and the fuel saving coming into effect.
Oh dear, oh my goodness me, how close was that? Oh, and we've got someone backwards, and it is a caution. Oh my goodness. Lap 126, it's the 111. I thought that was a replay, apologies. That was live pictures of the 111. Anton Bradberg getting into the wall through turn 1, and all of a sudden we've got a very different race on our hands.
Who is going to stop and who is not? Surely they've all got to come in for the fresh set of tyres. They've got 4 sets. Even those doing a 2-stop will have 1 fresh set of tyres left. I really assume that they're all going to come in, because if you stay on the older tyres, you're going to be absolutely freight trained at this restart, and it's going to be about 10 or maybe a bit less than that, about 8 laps to go when we get towards the restart. You need to have those fresher tyres, and this really changes the door. Let's see this once again on the replay. It's almost a 3-wide situation. We've got Bohlin on the outside. Contact is made with Holmer on the inside, as he's probably trying to judge the best way to get through in the middle, but unfortunately contact is made and he spins around 90 degrees, and yep, they all come down pit road.
Well, is it going to be all of them? It's going to be very interesting to see whether anybody decides to take a risk further down the field. At the moment we've got 18 on the lead lap, and so far they've all been into pit lane. And does that continue right the way down? Still, some of them still not quite made it, but yes, looks to be the answer. Apologies, not quite 18, 16. Some of those are going to get a wave around here, like Edwin Force, and just got the lucky dog. Kenneth Tier and Tony Uven look like they're going to try and get a wave around, possibly. Is anyone going to take 2? Doesn't look like it. It's going to be a 4-tyre race for everybody in this last 10 laps or so.
Yeah, I think it just makes the most sense because everyone's going to do it, as you can see. So you might as well come in. It makes perfect sense. They've all got the fresh set of tyres, and if you stay out, you're just going to lose paces. If it was a handful of laps to go, then maybe, but when it's going to be towards 10 laps of racing, I really think this makes sense. So there's now a straight fight to the end. Blix solo, the teammates will be on the front row. Ericsson and Broström, your championship 1 and 2 on your second row, and then Gunnarsson and Aronson, some of the big names in this championship on that third row. The top 6 is absolutely stacked as we come to the end of this race. We've also got, of course, Hafliderson, your reigning champion there in P8. We've got Peter Helmbro, Marcus Hogman, they're having strong seasons inside the top 10. There's no one messing about here. It is everyone going for this race victory. And for those who have not got a victory so far this season, the likes of Solo, Gunnarsson up there, they could very well want this a bit more than the others to try and have the opportunity, at least, to get inside those playoffs.
Yeah, Solo is about 60, 70 points off the top 30, so he really needs the win and also the points as well, even if he's going to try and make it. So it's going to be very interesting indeed. Now, there's a lot of wave rounds going on here. I think Kenneth Tier, Tony Even and Dylan Platt have all got one. So we're going to have 20 on the lead lap to add to Edwin Forsen, who I believe got the lucky dog there, and so he's back on the lead lap. We're going to get going again there with 11 laps to go. Eric Blix on the inside line with his teammate Daniel Solo on the outside line, with one of them needing a win a lot more than the other. So let's see whether they try and orchestrate that or whether they race for themselves.
Yeah, this has been a quick turnaround from the safety crew, and the pace truck is going to come in with 10 laps remaining in this race. So actually, it'll be 11 laps remaining. So this is going to be a frantic finish here to the MABI Hyrbilar 300, round 11 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We went green for 125 laps, but now we go green to the end once more as Blix gets us underway. The 95 is a good start. The 13 follows him in behind, but it's the 37 of Jesper Eriksson who's going to dive it down the inside. We're all on fresher tyres, we're all on the same fuel going to the end, and it is now a straight fight to try and get this victory.
Certainly is, and so far no team games, which is the interesting thing. Eriksson slots into third then it's Gunnarsson versus Broström, and then some of those who are real opportunists this evening. There's a slide, big slide for Hagman, he gathers it up. Oh, it's going to be on the outside line, they can make a crash. It's going to be Hagenschott who goes into the wall alongside Hagman, who spins to the inside. We only make it a single lap before caution flies again.
Cautions breed cautions. There's a reason why we say that. We went green for so long in this race, but then in the space of a couple of laps of racing, we get 2 cautions as the pace truck makes his way back to the front of the field. There was already some contact there with Salander and his teammate Hafliderson. It's a 12 in behind who makes a contact with Homer, who then goes up wide to avoid, and unfortunately it's just a chain reaction there with further drivers having some issues. They all tried to save as best as they could, but unfortunately there was too much contact, too many spins there, and the caution will come back out. So we're going to get about 7 laps to the end of this one, and the longer it goes, of course, under the caution, the less laps we have to the end, the less opportunities there are to change in the final laps.
And I'm not sure when the last time we had a green-white checker was, but I think it was Daytona, Talladega, as we have another look at it here. As you say, chain reaction, probably the best way to describe it. Shot there, couldn't really do anything about it. Neither could any of those who were piling in the background. It's just a real shame for a lot of drivers who were caught up in all of that. But yeah, it was, I think, Talladega the last time we had a green-white checker. That means that we are going to see maybe our second of the season. Let's see on that, because we made up time so well earlier. We've got time to do it. We could have had green white checkers at Pocono, but obviously we ran out of time and had to end under yellow, unfortunately.
I tell you what, Marcus Hogman, he was probably about 5 degrees of slip there away from saving us from the green flag, but unfortunately the car just went around a little bit too much, and we are now back to the pace truck and the caution conditions. So as it stands, look how many Alcantech cars are up there towards the front. I'm trying to do the maths there. It's at 5 inside the top 7 positions. They have come so strong since returning to the championship just a few races ago now, back at Iowa, I believe it was. And they are still trying to fight for this championship, at least to get themselves into the playoffs. They need the points to get themselves there, because even the win is not quite going to be enough, because you have to be inside the top 30 in the standings. So it's a big push to the end from these drivers, and they certainly have some good opportunities here for them. What a crazy race it has been so far, and with just half a lap to go before we go back to green flag racing. Any predictions, or is it going to be multiple cautions before we see
I suspect we may well see another one, to be honest, in the next 7 laps, which is what we're going to have towards the end. But caution laps are generally 4 laps for a caution. So when you think about it, we actually haven't got that much longer to go before we are in green white checker territory, which means that it's 2 laps effectively. We'll go through all the rules if we get there, but just bearing that in mind, because we're not far away from that kind of territory at all.
Absolutely, and I hope some drivers have some extra fuel in the car for those, because that is always a little bit of an awkward one. Although we did just have the pit stop about 5-10 laps ago now, so hopefully they had that margin taken into account, because they all changed tyres, so there would have been time to fill up a little bit of fuel as well. The pace truck comes in, and for the 3rd time of asking today, we're going to go to green flag conditions. The MABI Hyrbilar 300 still has a twist left to go in its story, I am sure. The 95 gets us underway once more. Terrible start from the number 33 of Gunnarsson, and his teammate Hafley pushing him in behind. That's going to allow the likes of Brewstrom to come through as we work our way through turns 1 and 2 for another time of asking. And this is really a big decision for the Alcantech cars. Are they going to try and orchestrate Solo to get the win, or are they going to let Blix get all the points that he can? Ericsson is going to dive up the inside. He might just... in the background, there's another spin. It's at Salander. He is.
Gunnarsson.
His teammate Gunnarsson into the wall. That might bring the caution back out once more. We do. 3rd caution in 10 laps.
Wow. He was absolutely smashed there as well, Gunnarsson, by the way. He was just in the background, off shot, 90 degrees perpendicular to the road, and there were some drivers running up high there, and I'm pretty sure he got absolutely smashed. So he went up high, got into the back of his teammate, then went for his own slide, then he's in a dangerous place. He was clipped by someone and then absolutely smashed. That was a big hit there for someone who now can't see because their bonnet's waving in the air. So that is a disaster for them. We're under caution again. We should have about 2 laps to go, 3 laps to go when we go back green again. We're effectively into green white checker territory.
Yeah, that's such a big shame. The Alcantech cars, there's 3 of them there. There's Salander, Gunnarsson, Haflidason, all next to each other. But there's some team-on-team contact, some friendly fire, and unfortunately, that has really hindered their opportunities, A, in the Teams Championship, but B, in the drivers as well, because Gunnarsson definitely not going to be getting enough points now. It was Alto in the 67 there, unfortunately, making some contact, the hood just flapping about, and unfortunately, back to pit road it is going to be. A huge contact as well for the 33, so big shame for them. Opens up the door to some other drivers to work their way back inside the top 10. The likes of Holmer, your pole driver, who's been struggling all day, now back up into P9.
Tommy Alto now makes his way down in pit lane and might well retire now, because he was last anyway, so that might be it for him. That's the first 0 lap green flag run of the day, by the way. Means we've had won every single race on the ovals. I'm not counting Indianapolis because that doesn't count. Every single race since Homestead at the end of October. Every race we've had a green flag run that has not even made it as way back to the green flag and back to the start finish line again, as we see the reason why again here. Tommy Alto with one of the bigger hits of the day.
Yeah, that was certainly a big one, and the hood not loving that one. Indeed, as he is down pit road getting some repairs. We've also got Wildebauer, Kjellberg as well down pit lane as it stands. Pace truck still out there, so he'll be coming to the green flag at the end of lap 37. So yeah, it'll be 3 laps to go when we get to the checkered flag, and hopefully that's enough time to find ourselves a victor, but you never know with how these races are going. I think what you can see here, Ewan, is one of those things. It is always really dangerous in the first couple of laps, but if you get through those first few laps, we can then generally have a long green flag run, as there is the 87. That car is not making it back out. It's literally missing a wheel and I'm sure a few suspension components.
I'm sure it is, yeah, and so that might well be the end of the day for Tommy Alto, but a credit to the iRacing damage model, which he's showcasing perfectly there. as if he's some sort of marketer. So unfortunate for him, but he's at the end of the race. I think Gunnarsson's left the session as well, by the way. He's going to finish way down. That's a real shame for him, considering the day he's had and the race he's had as well. But yeah, we are going to be, if we get another caution into green, white checkered racing, which is going to come with it all its complications. A very long opening green flag run has ended here with some very, very short ones. It needs some very interesting racing as well, as for the first time, Blix and Solo lining up on the inside line together. Wonder how they'll orchestrate the restart this time.
3 laps remain as we go back to green flag racing. Out of turn 4, up towards the restart zone we go, and the 95 is going to be taking the green flag for the 3rd restart of the day. The MABI Hyrbilar 300 gets underway for a final dash to the end. Will we make it under green flag? Is there another caution? Is there going to be a green-white checker? We will certainly find out. The 13 goes up the inside. That definitely looks like the 95 was helping that one, but all that's done is allow Jesper Eriksson to come around the outside. Contact is made. Oh, they're going to go for a spin. No, they save it. We're still 3 wide down the back straight. The 95 holds on that inside line. He's trying to find his way through. It's a 13 on the outside. Really needs this victory.
Unbelievable. 3 wide off of 4 here between these 3 great drivers, and Solo might well just have his nose ahead of the line, but not quite the definitive position here. Blix, I think, is doing everything he can to try and get Eriksson out of the picture right now, as they still remain 3 wide. We're on the penultimate lap of this race. Off of 2, this is where it got sketchy last time. Blix is no longer a help now. He's no longer alongside.
What a move this is going to be for Eriksson if he can complete it. He slides a bit high. The 13 just opens up the door to avoid the contact. We come on to the final lap of the race. We're wheel banging, we're door banging as we come across the stripe. The 13 leads though with 1 lap to go.
3-lap green flag run to the finish. It's going to be fantastic. In the background, all sorts going on, but Solo's taken it into turn 1. Blix alongside. Eriksson can't maximise his exit. Daniel Solo, he's got a great chance here to win this race.
And he really needs this victory as well. The Alcantech cars are coming halfway through the season. They need the race win and they need the points. What best way to do it? Blix won last time, and out to the final corner, Solo is going to take victory here for the MABI Hyrbilar 300. What a victory there for the 13. Well orchestrated from the Alcantech guys on that restart. And Jesper Eriksson not having enough to take victory here today. All sorts of carnage as we come across the line, but it will be Solo, Eriksson and Blix on your podium.
And Broström just in behind as well. One of those prospective one-stoppers from earlier on in the day getting another top 5. But we might just have seen another playoff driver sealed here tonight. Dominic Sawicki, unfortunately not here today, meaning he's going to drop outside the top 30. Another driver, though, we'll be focusing on trying to get in is Daniel Solo. He's now also one of those race winners, down fighting for those top 30 in points so that he can make it to the round of 15. What an impact Alcantech have made since rejoining this series, and what a great start in the first race of 2025.
Yeah, that was an incredible race. So yes, Gunnarsson, and although actually in the end he's going to lose a lot of points today, but Solo, he was 60 points basically off the margin, give or take. He's got almost that points with his win. Plus, of course, he has the win as well. The drivers ahead of him would have got some points, so he's still probably gained about 40 odd points. So I think with the final 3 races of the season, he is probably going to be able to lock himself inside the top 30 in the standings, and therefore the 95 and the 13 winning this race and the last, they might be locking themselves into the playoffs. What a return for the Alcantech cars, taking this 2nd victory in a row for them. Eriksson will be in 2nd place and Blix is in 3rd. Broström rounds out your top 4, and Hafliderson with another strong result there inside your top 5. Peter Helmborough finishing 1 second off the lead in P6, and Salander, Forsund, Tyr and Holmer round out your top 10. Eric Blix getting the fastest lap of the race as well on lap 50. Holmbaum, Aronson and Uven inside your top 13 before we see Lundberg. Marcus Stiller from the back gets up to 15th place. Schott, Wallin, Hagman, Fredriksson and Platt round out your top 20. A few of those drivers there, I'm sure they would have hoped for a top 10 today. Bjorn Broström, Canel, Leppit dropping down. Do look out for the AK Hero team though towards the end of the season. They are coming in very strong. Wallin, Tademo, Skoglund, Eck, Pfeffer, Nordgren and Eriksson inside your top 30. Then on the final page, few drivers really struggling. At the end, a big crash for Gunnarsson, the 33. That really takes him out of contention to get inside the playoffs. Even if he wins a race now, I think he's going to be too many points behind. Dahlstrom, Bratberg, Filderberg, Helberg and Auto round out your top 36 drivers for today's MABI Hyrbilar 300. But in the end, it was the Alcantech of number 13 of Dan Solo taking victory today. And of course, we'll jump straight into getting a word from him. And yeah, the number 13, Dan Solo, joins us in the commentary box. Dan, what a race that was. We had such a long green flag run, but then we had some cautions at the end. Just how was that final restart, though, where you managed to get past your teammate?
Scary. I was... we're trying to get some teamwork going here, and we misjudged the timing a little bit, I'd say. And I didn't expect us to be free wide for that long, and I was just sitting there, like, I was just saying to my teammates the entire time, basically, like, are we still free? Are we still free? Are we still free? Because it's hard to tell sometimes. I was just sending the top there as hard as I could, hoping I would be able to stay in front and clear Ericsson eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. But going back to the sort of the beginning and the middle part of the race, you were trying that one-stop strategy. You were there with Linus Brostrom as well on the 71. Just how was it on those tyres, doing 72 laps, I think it was in the end you had to do on the tyres? You were really, really slow and struggling, but it seemed like you were making it work.
Yeah, I think the middle of the stint was the middle of the first stint was the worst, because I started out not knowing if I was going to one-stop or not, so you end up pushing the first couple of laps before you realize that, oh, if I just really focus on fuel saving now, I can make it work. So the middle of the stint is really sketchy. The tires are overheated and they're falling off, and trying to fuel save so you don't trail brake enough, so you kill the tires more, and it's a struggle, but... I really thought it was going to be faster than the two-stop, actually, which obviously turned out not to be when Blixt passed me there. So at that point, we were just sitting there waiting for a caution. But
oh, absolutely. And then the cautions did come out. You and, well, everyone went on to fresher tyres. Did you really think you were going to win the race at that point, or was it still too difficult until those last 3 laps to really predict who was going to win?
I had a good suspicion. We have our good team starts, and I'm really happy that I cleared Ericsson in the pit stops. Just the problem with starting second when you have a teammate in first is that it's so scary to actually go on their countdown, because if you go a little bit early or if you misjudge the Discord delay, it's so easy to get a penalty for jumping the start. So you're just safing it way more than you have to, just hoping you can get out and get a good launch with your teammate and clear it out coming out.
Yeah, certainly a difficult one, but congratulations. The job is not done yet. You still need to get a few more points to get inside the top 30 and therefore be in the playoff, but you got 3 more rounds and you're going to be somewhere around 20 odd points off the jump. So that's looking pretty good in the final 3 races of the season. So congratulations on your win, and hopefully we'll see you in the playoffs in a month or 2 time.
Thank you.
And then, of course, next we will bring in the 37 of Jesper Eriksson. Jesper, what a finish we had there. You went 3 wide with your 2 great rivals of Solo and Blix there for a good couple of laps, but in the end, you fell short and finished in 2nd place. But firstly, just how scary was it to be in the middle of that 3 wide situation with 2 laps to go?
Oh, it was absolutely terrifying. I saw coming into turn 1 and 2 that Huffley kind of overshooted the corner, went into Eric. So I knew a gap was opening up because Eric had loose. I saw the gap and was like, it's not gonna work. But I mean, what's there to lose? Went in, car turned sideways. It was a blast. I haven't missed this racing with the Alcantech boys. It's hard, but oftenly fair. Super enjoyable. Absolutely adore it.
Yeah, it's certainly been great to have their 5 cars coming back into this championship. They had 5 cars in the top 7 there at the one of the final restarts before obviously Gunnarsson had the crash. But in the sort of middle part of the race, you were looking pretty strong, but it seemed like Eric had a little bit of a jump in the strategy. He was able to get ahead of you, and you were always chasing. Did you think if we didn't have any cautions, you're about 2 or 3 seconds back with about 15-20 laps to go, do you think you could have caught him?
No, I think Eric, if there was going to be a caution, Eric was definitely going to get the win. I think he had the tire advantage, or the time advantage. I mean, so it would be hard to catch him. But yep, that's racing. I mean, the caution was quite welcoming, to be honest. To just take a breather, take some water, and just absolutely send it the last laps.
Yeah, it was quite an amazing finish, to be honest. And next we go to New Hampshire. What are you thinking for that track? It's obviously quite a bit different to what we saw today.
Never driven it on iRacing. Don't really own it. I did drive it a few times on like NASCAR Heat when that dropped, and absolutely hated the track. So we'll see. No idea.
Well, certainly, that looks good. Then we'll see you in a couple of weeks, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
And then lastly, we'll bring in the 95 of Eric Blixton. Eric, third place today, but you led for so long. You were really looking fast today out there for your Alcantech number 95. Just did you have a sort of a good feeling with the car today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a track I really enjoy driving at. Really awards taking care of your tires properly. So when you get a good run, we had a lot of good runs actually, really long runs. You can really work on the tire wear, get the car kind of where you wanted it to. So yeah, I felt like I had some good pace, but I knew like I need some help in the playoffs if we're gonna get there. So it was pretty strategic move to get Solo into a winning position as well as having a really good race with Jesper.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, yeah, with if it went green to the end, you probably would have won, but the caution did come out. So from that point on, was it just focusing on finding a way to get Solo into that race victory position?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't plan anything before. Like, we take the starts, see what happens. If we get a position where we can safely switch it around, well, sure. But we weren't going to risk any major upsets by doing it.
I mean, you say safely. It did turn into a 3-wide situation with Jesper Eriksson coming in the middle. So I'm sure that was very difficult to try and keep it low and not scrub up into both of them.
Yeah. I mean, you need to make sure what people you race that way around. Like 90% I knew Jesper was gonna keep it clean enough to not cause a massive wreck. So it was worth putting it in 3-wide, see what happens, rub some doors, have some fun.
Yeah, I like the attitude that you and Jesper have. It's certainly good for the racing, and we really enjoyed that. But of course, you and Solo now, you're very close to being inside the top 30 in the championship. So it's getting close. So are you actually still thinking there's an opportunity for this championship? Or like with Eunice today, actually, he had the opportunity, but now with that crash at the end, he probably doesn't have enough points. So I guess anything can happen in the final 3 races.
Yeah, it's a shame about Gunnarsson. Would have been really nice to have at least 3 cars in the playoffs. Well, I think only 3 of us could qualify. But it would have been nice to take 3 spots. But 2 is better than 1. 1 is better than 0. And as long as we're in the playoffs, we're going to go for the win.
Absolutely. I love that from you guys. So great to have you back in the championship. And yeah, good luck for the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. And that rounds out this crazy round 11 of the season. 3 wide to the end of the race. The number 13 came out on top, beating Eriksson and Blix there for your podium. But that's it here from Nashville. It's been myself, Cam Roger. I've had Ewan O'Leary alongside me and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. In a couple of weeks' time, we go to New Hampshire for round 12 before we round out the regular season with Darlington and Daytona. And then, of course, in March, we get to the playoffs. Can't wait for that. Do join us here every other week for the Oval Series, and shortly the Road Course Series will be back as well for some action. Keep your eyes out for that, same time, same place, 8 p.m. here on RaceSpotTV. But until then, we wish you a very warm goodbye and thanks for watching.